including Democrat hypocrisy with regard to lockdowns. Is that a big surprise? I don't think so. Let's start in 3, 2. Hello and welcome to a live edition of my show on a Thursday morning, a week before Thanksgiving. Welcome. Glad to have you with me, guys. Going to get to a lot of different stuff. A little bit on the election recount, which is ongoing. The fact that the election is, the Democrats are attempting to steal it. It should be without question, but unfortunately, the Democrat Party thinks you're stupid. No, actually, they don't think you're stupid. They think you're smart. They just want to convince you that you're stupid. They just want to convince you that there's nothing to see here. And there is plenty to see here. And I want you to think about this because I heard this statistic the other day. Ronald Reagan, his midterm landslide, or was it, one of his elections, I might have been the final time he was elected. The landslide that he got, 16 House seats were flipped. In this one so far, we have 12 House seats flipped. And Ronald Reagan won by a landslide. I believe this was 1984. Why didn't Donald Trump win as a landslide? Why didn't that happen? You know what it is? Because they're trying to steal the election. Okay? That's basically it. So anyway, welcome to the show. I've got some news also that I want to share with you. We're going to be giving you the opportunity to win a freezer full of Wagyu beef, which is from Texas, from Hassel Cattle Company, and also a Pit Barrel Classic Smoker as well. How cool is that? We are broadcasting live on Twitch this morning, by the way. So let's start with the biggest a-hole in America, who is Andrew Cuomo, who is the governor of the state of New York. He is completely effed. What do you think about this? Andrew Cuomo has completely screwed up the COVID response. First of all, he asked for all these ventilators that he never needed, okay? And he was the original Chicken Little. He was the guy who was freaking out about everything. The sky was falling. Everybody's going to die. I need ventilators. I need a hospital ship. I need to convert the convention center into a hospital. And guess what? None of them were used. Excuse me. Got a little frog in the throat this morning. I sounded like Anthony Fauci pre-op. So anyway, sorry about that. But Andrew Cuomo has screwed up everything. Chris Cuomo, his brother, also known as Fredo, he is an a-hole, and he is on CNN. I don't have any news about Chris Cuomo. He's just still an a-hole. Anyway, Andrew Cuomo yesterday was questioned by a media representative talking about how he shut down the schools again. Because in the city of New York, there is a 3% positive rate as far as COVID testing. So if you go in to get tested for COVID, there is a 3% chance that you will have COVID, a disease that 99.997% of us will survive if we are under 70 years old. We should have never shut down the country. It is odd, and I want you to pay attention to this because nobody else is saying this right now. Why is it that COVID cases have increased tenfold in states like California, Democrat states, Michigan and Minnesota? I'll get to some of the massive closings going on there, more lives being destroyed. But COVID has taken off since the election, and Donald Trump has not conceded the election. And 2 vaccines have been approved. Okay, so we've got 2 vaccines, 95+% effectiveness. So we are seeing the end of COVID approaching very quickly. All right, very quickly. In fact, some people could be getting emergency doses of this in December. Up to 20 million people in December. So there is hope. There is hope that we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But some people want to continue to double down on despair, and they are Democrats. Now, Andrew Cuomo a couple weeks ago said it was perfectly safe for kids to go to school. My daughter is a sophomore in high school. She missed more than a half a year, more than a half of her freshman year without classes, okay? Her classmates, senior last years at the high school, missed their graduation. High school teams missed their seasons. Kids in theater and choir missed their performances, and lives are being destroyed, and diseases of despair are running rampant. But for political reasons, because 2020, Democrats are continuing with their cold, long winter. There are states like Michigan shutting down for 6 weeks, New York shutting down, I believe, for 3, Washington State shutting down completely. People once again losing their livelihoods. The city of Kansas City, they have put all sorts of restrictions on bars and restaurants, everything closes at 10 o'clock because apparently the virus goes to sleep like I do. I had around 10 o'clock. Pretty much. Here is Andrew Cuomo losing his cool and acting like a tough guy yesterday when he was asked about why he's ruining children's lives and shutting down schools again.
I'm a little unclear about New York City schools. The other day you said this is the city's decision. They have an agreement at 3%. Today you said...
Now remember, he has effed up everything. And I might also add, when the vaccine was announced, he said he was going to wait until Biden was inaugurated rather than give the vaccine because Donald Trump is still the president.
Well, I might have to impose an orange zone, and I might have to close the schools, which an orange zone does. So what's going on? Does the city still have the ability to close its schools? Are you now taking control and saying they...
Pay attention to the sound, the closed caption guy, the hearing impaired sign language interpreter, when Cuomo talks. I hear it's really funny.
You have the power to make this decision. And for the millions of parents who want to know, are the schools going to open tomorrow in New York City?
All right. First of all, let's try not to be obnoxious and offensive in your
I will if you will.
tone, because you're 100% wrong.
You have a lot of things to be to answer for, my friend.
These laws have all been in effect for months. I've always said we set initial parameters, and then the school district picked a percent within those parameters. New York City picked 3%. We announced the orange zone law over a month ago.
You're ruining the state of New York.
I don't know if you were here or if you were paying attention, but that has been
That was rather dismissive.
in effect for over a month. It always said,
Listen to how deliberate he's being because he's trying to make the guy feel foolish.
if by the state's numbers you hit 3%, the schools close.
Okay,
What's
we got
going on here is nothing.
What a cocky a-hole. Oh, by the way, hi, you guys watching on Twitch. If you want to comment, it's right there. The stream chat is right there.
That the law hasn't said for over a month. We then had the test out procedures.
Okay, we got
If
it.
you were paying attention,
Oh,
you would have known
what a
we
douche.
closed the schools in New York City 2 weeks ago.
What a douche.
Remember when we did an orange zone
Such
and
a
a red
douche.
zone in Brooklyn and Queens?
Okay, he's going to get all Joe Pesci and Goodfellas here.
And we closed the schools? Don't you remember that?
You are such a jerk.
Okay, so what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're now going to override. We did it already. That's the law. An orange zone and a red zone. Follow the fact.
In French, it's quel un douche. That means what a douche.
Well, then you're confused.
I'm confused, and
Then I'll tell you what you mean.
Parents are still confused as well. The schools
Oh,
in New
they're
York
not
City
confused.
tomorrow-
What, I'm funny like a clown? Like what?
You're confused.
No, I think
Read
parents
the
are
law.
very confused as well.
Read the law, and you won't be confused.
Look at the sign language guy.
The schools are open by state law.
When will they be open tomorrow? That's the question. I think Jimmy's correct.
You going to bring back the hospital ship since the cases have been growing, and also are you going to ask for more ventilators? You going to make the are you going to convert the convention center at a cost of $70 million, which ultimately ended up costing millions of dollars per patient because only a few patients were treated there? You going to do that again there?
In asking that question, I don't think it's obnoxious at all.
Well, I don't really care what you think.
You don't.
Of course, you agree with him because you're in the same business with him. The schools, by state law, well, what is the answer to your question? What is the answer to your question?
Wow.
Yes, you do.
You said
When does the state close the schools?
When you get to an orange zone, which you're suggesting could happen, but is not necessarily happening by tomorrow.
So then what are you asking? You just answered your own question.
Okay, I'm done with him. Done with him. We do have a lot of people watching on Twitch this morning. Hello, guys. So Cuomo has also said that you should have 10 people or less in your home. He signed an executive order limiting indoor gatherings at private residences to 10 people. All right? Now, think about that. That is it's pretty remarkable, okay? The government is kicking open your door with your family at Thanksgiving in the state of New York. That's what they're doing. The health measure comes amid fears of further virus outbreaks stemming from large groups events during the holidays. Fulton, Saratoga, and Erie County officials say they will not enforce the order. In other words, they are saying, make like a turkey and stuff it. Yeah. Fulton County Sheriff Richard Giordano on Monday accused Governor Cuomo of scaring the hell out of people, and he is. People have enough anxiety in their life without thinking that the police are going to come to their door and check how many people there are. So they are not going to do it. So in the words of Twisted Sister, we're not going to take it anymore. All right. So Gavin Newsom, who is a douche supreme in California, by the way, he went to a 50th birthday party of a friend at a 5-star Napa restaurant. Now, this is despite a travel ban in California that he has put in order. Here's the story about the travel ban.
A travel advisory. California, one of 3 states, asking anyone traveling from out of state to self-quarantine for 14 days. NBC4's Christine Kim joins us live from LAX with details and reaction. Hi, Christine.
Robert, keep in mind this is an advisory, a strong
If they close down the airport, would it be lax?
Recommendation that will not
LAX is
be
never mind.
enforced. But California's health secretary says if need be, they'll consider strengthening it in the days to come.
Of course.
At LAX Airport, a spokesperson says airlines have cut the number of seats available per day for the holiday season by roughly 50% compared to last year.
Which means the airlines are going to lose their asses.
The governor
and you're going to end up bailing them out.
There's new travel advisory this morning, now strongly urging those arriving in California from other states or countries, including returning California residents, to self-quarantine for 14 days if it's for non-essential travel like tourism or recreation. For some planning to visit family.
Now listen to these brainwashed young people who have no chance of dying from COVID.
Holiday plans are now fluid.
Both my plans have been fluctuating. I'm visiting my mom for Thanksgiving. We just figured out that I'm going to fly back to Washington for Thanksgiving, and then I'm actually flying overseas to see my dad.
No, you're killing people right now. Your nose is uncovered. You are going to kill that reporter.
In December.
Over at Smart Set Travels, Barbara Ford says the travel advisory is another blow to her business.
Watch this. This poor woman, by the way, owns a travel agency in California. Could there be a worse place to work now?
I don't know if we'll even be open at the first of the year.
There she is. She's killing the reporter.
I don't know how long can go on paying rent and telephone bills and everything with nothing, zero coming in.
She hasn't booked a single trip since March, and the couple inquiries she's received
How do you stay in business?
about traveling in the winter are now up in the air.
It just seems like a further shutdown to the travel business.
The governor's office reiterating the safest way to celebrate the holidays is with people who you already live with. Don't travel if it's not essential, but if you must, quarantine for 14 days to lower the risk of infecting others.
I'll definitely quarantine at first. I'll take a couple tests if I can, just because I feel like it's the right thing to do.
If it's non-essential, I feel like you should just quarantine for 2 weeks, just for the safety of most people, especially if the cases are spiking right now.
Here's Waldo, by the way.
I feel like it's just a good plan to have.
Yeah, okay, here's the problem. Here's the problem. And I'm going to say it again, and I want you to pay very close attention. For the last 7 months, states like California have shut down business, have required that you wear a mask, have required that you socially distance. They have said you can't go to church, you can't go to concerts, you can't eat out in restaurants. You can't walk your freaking dog. By the way, there's a new study that says that if you walk your dog, you have an 87% higher chance of catching COVID if you walk your freaking dog. Okay, so if all of those safety standards were put into effect, and more so in Democrat states like Michigan, Minnesota, Washington State and California, why has the infection rate increased tenfold? That says to me, your policies have failed. They have completely failed. All right? So now the governor of California is doubling down on failure. Doubling down on failure. They're saying, hey, let's do more of this. Let's continue to ruin lives. Let's make sure that businesses can't be open and that people have to stay at home. Let's keep people under control in their home. Did you know that Gavin Newsom is considering a quarantine or a curfew? Did you know that? Gavin Newsom is considering a curfew. Okay, that is martial law, kids. That is saying that you can't go out after 10 p.m. Now, I lived in Cincinnati years ago when they essentially declared martial law. This was because a big fat guy who was high on joints dipped in embalming fluid passed out on a White Castle parking lot lawn, and the police came, and he got up swinging. The guy ultimately had a heart attack, and there was a race riot in Cincinnati, and they had to close everything because they were burning everything down, okay? So a curfew is essentially martial law. Why is this happening in California? The infection rate should be half of what it is in South Dakota. South Dakota is not closing down. Kristi Noem is the governor there, okay? All right. By the way, 8 California lawmakers flew to Hawaii for a conference to discuss the pandemic at a 5-star resort. Despite COVID restrictions and of course, the Governor Newsom's Michelin dinner, okay? 7 California Assembly members, 1 state senator were the 75 people attending an Independent Voter Project conference in Maui this week. Frank Bigelow, Andreas Borges, blah, blah, blah. They don't need to know their names. They were staying at the Fairmont Kia Lani Hotel in Wailea. It cost $500 a night. The legislators are facing backlash for attending this despite the travel ban in California. Okay? Now, several attendees defended themselves by arguing that the conference was important because it includes discussions about pandemic policies. There's something really cool that's happening right now. They're called Zoom conference calls, and they're the same, except for, there's not like lots of lobbyists there greasing your palms, paying for your drinks and paying for your dinners and sucking up to you. So, and giving you free crap. I've been to conferences like this. They give you free crap, lots and lots of free crap. And honestly, you either have a death wish or you don't believe what you're preaching. And I would vote for the latter. I think all of these politicians, Dianne Feinstein, who's close to 90 years old, not wearing a mask in the Capitol the other day, Gavin Newsom going to a 5-star Michelin 50-year-old friend's birthday party in Napa, no masks, no social distancing. Either he has a death wish or he doesn't believe the crap that he's preaching. Again, I'm voting for the latter. Here is Gavin Newsom, the governor of the state of California, after eating at a restaurant that most of us would only ever dream of eating at. You couldn't afford to eat there. Trust me, you couldn't afford to eat there. All right? I've been fortunate enough. I've had dinners at restaurants like this, but other people paid for it. I was very fortunate. That's what radio used to be. You used to get some perks for being a radio. Not so much anymore. Here is the Weasley, and watch his mouth. He's got like butt mouth. He talks like this. He's got butt mouth. Here's Gavin Newsom making excuses and feeling bad for attending this 5-star Michelin dinner for his friend's 50th birthday.
That a few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th.
Watch how uncomfortable he is.
50th birthday. My wife and I, a friend that I've known for almost 20 years. And
who cares?
And a friend that had, put a lot of time and energy into his 50th birthday.
Who cares?
It was in Napa, which was in the orange status.
It's the orange status.
Loose compared to some other.
Now, I believe in New York, the orange status means you got to cancel school. We just heard that.
Counties. It was to be an outdoor restaurant.
Who cares? It was indoor.
Well, the program started at 4 o'clock. It was one of those early reservations. I got there a little bit late at 4:30.
Who cares?
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group than I had anticipated.
Son of a gun.
And I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and walked back, got in my car, and drove back to my house.
But instead, I sat there and I had a lovely dinner that most of you could never afford in your lifetimes. We had some cake, we sang, we drank a lot of wine, and I think we played Jenga.
Instead, I chose to sit there with my wife and a number of other couples that were outside the household. And you can quibble about the guidelines, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yeah, we could quibble because you a-hole, you told us to live by different rules.
But the spirit of what I'm preaching all the time
can you believe this? Can you believe what he's saying? Honestly, there's no shame. This man has no shame.
Contradicted, and I got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you.
Bullshit. Honestly, BS.
Because I need to preach and practice, not just preach and not practice. And
look at how fake he is.
I've done my best to do that. We're all human. We all fall short sometimes. We've been out, and I think
this is like a Jimmy Swaggart kind of apology.
3 times since. In fact, I know it's been 3 times because I remember all of those dinners very, very vividly since February. Just 3 times.
Yeah, you know how many other people have gone out to dinner? You know how many restaurants got closed down that nobody can go to again, you a-hole?
Twice with my wife, by myself, outdoors.
Who cares?
And then this one occasion with a larger group. And there were just a few extra people there than the spirit of what I am promoting.
Wow. Rules for thee, not for me. We've heard that before, haven't we? Oh, by the way, yes, I want to mention this real quick here. Do you want to... Let me see, where is that? Hold on, I got it here somewhere. Do you want to win a incredible freezer full of Wagyu beef? Wagyu beef is the American version of Kobe beef. It is the most beautiful steak and jerky and burgers and ribs you can have in your life. Comes from Hassel Cattle Company. And you'll also get a Pit Barrel Classic cooker. Pit Barrel cookers are amazing. One person is going to win this prize package at the end of this month. Perfect gift for the holidays, a.k.a. Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever. Anyway, there's our first winner last month. He got a freezer full of beef. Huge. So all you got to do is you got to subscribe to my channel on rumble.com or you subscribe to my channel on youtube.com, both under Rob Carson Show. Also up here, these are some of the new designs on my T-shirt line. Cancel Fox News. There's America Supremacist. Also fake news, Fox News. There you go. All right, so there you go. Here is this is a Democrat governor PSA, I guess, announcement for why you should do what they say, why they have major lockdowns, why they are returning to square one and doubling down on their failed policies because coronavirus has suddenly taken off since Donald Trump is not conceding defeat, and there are 2 vaccines.
Each and every one of us that chooses to stay home this Thanksgiving.
There's something wrong with this woman.
And not get together could be.
She's the kind of woman you'd date and you'd come home and there'd be a bunny boiling on your stove.
Contributing to saving other people's lives and our own and protecting our family members.
There you go. There's a testing site, I guess.
And the best way to get
I don't know who this doofus is.
Through this is to be together, but from afar.
There's another testing site.
No one wants Thanksgiving, which is an amazing time to become a super spreader event.
Now, this douche actually sent police to church parking lots months ago to write down license numbers, then go to people's homes and make them stay in their homes for 14 days.
We have case rates climbing in the upper Midwest and into the Dakotas, higher than any place on the planet at any time during this pandemic. The repercussions of that are infections.
And it all happened since Donald Trump has not conceded the election, and 2 vaccines have been announced.
Followed by hospitalizations, which are followed by ICUs, which are followed by death.
For 31st, we all lose every dollar for testing, for contact tracing, and for deployment of a vaccine. If Congress does not act even just to do the basics, our efforts to address this virus will be undermined.
You've been addressing it for like 7 or 8 months now, and people have done what you said, and it didn't work. And now you want us to double down. And now you want us to be even more restricted. Now you want to shut down everything. Where I live right now, I could still go to the gym. Okay? I haven't gotten sick. I went to work for 6 months, met hundreds of people, didn't get sick, drove by the hospital the other day. The parking lot is empty. What's going on? We don't believe you anymore. We don't believe you anymore. This is the health secretary of Pennsylvania featured in this story about the latest crackdown in Pennsylvania. If you go to Pennsylvania, you'll end up staying there for like 14 days.
It is our collective responsibility to protect our communities and our most vulnerable Pennsylvanians from COVID-19.
As new coronavirus...
Then why don't you just protect the most vulnerable instead of punishing everyone?
Coronavirus cases continue to surge. The state is imposing new travel restrictions ahead of Thanksgiving.
Of course.
Thanks for joining us at 5. The state's also strengthening mask guidelines and cranking up the pressure on businesses to be sure that customers are in compliance.
The new efforts come as we keep setting new case records, and they're aimed at keeping our hospitals from becoming overwhelmed. Experts still say
They never were overwhelmed. They never got overwhelmed. They didn't get overwhelmed in New York. They didn't get overwhelmed in California.
Distancing, mask wearing, and sanitizing will go a long way to combat the spread of the virus. Our Andy Sheehan is live with a look at the changes the state is making and how they may be enforced.
Here's Andy. Now, he's standing there with nobody around him. His cameraman's at least 6 feet away, and he chooses to wear a mask because you know why? Because masks broadcast fear. Masks remind you constantly of the plague upon humanity that could kill you at any moment. That's what masks are for.
Andy.
In the face of record numbers and dire projections, Pennsylvania is clamping down on out-of-state travel, but compliance will be largely up to you.
Then I won't.
There is now aggressive, unrelenting, expanding, broad community spread across the country.
With COVID quickly rising, Health Secretary Rachel Levine is urging everyone to stay put for the holidays, but is ordering mandatory testing for those who don't. Under the new guidelines, visitors traveling to the state or residents returning must be tested within 72 hours before traveling here. And if the results are delayed, they must quarantine here until they get a negative test result.
Oh, my God, you got to stay in Pennsylvania.
Those who did not or could not get a test are advised to quarantine for 14 days.
What we're all asking in all of our states is actually for people not to travel.
But unlike states like New York, which has threatened large fines for violators, compliance will largely...
Can you imagine going to Pennsylvania and getting stuck there? I mean, can you even imagine that? Going to Pennsylvania, you land in Pennsylvania, and you're never going to leave Pennsylvania. I mean, have we seen that before? Can you imagine waking up every day in Pennsylvania when you didn't live there? I mean, how weird would that be? That would be crazy. Okay, there you go. Anyway, you get the point. You get the point. Yeah, there you go. So that's what they're doing. They are making you stay in Pennsylvania for, 14 days if you come in from out of state. And again, all of the Democrat policies have failed completely, and they are asking you to go back to square one, be completely terrified, wear a mask, and realize that everybody you come in contact with could die, even though most of us really don't know anybody who died. Most of us don't. Most of us don't know anybody who really got sick. So that's it. I mean, my son had a friend of his get sick. He was 20. He was tired. That was all. I meet a lot of people in my job. That's the only person that I know of who got COVID, actually. Oh, here are the new lockdown rules in the state of Minnesota, where I used to live. So here we go. They dial back to save lives. You got to dial back. There again, they're telling you to go back to square one. So open, takeout delivery, grocery and retail. Now, it doesn't matter that all those people will die in grocery stores because, honestly, they can't get it because they're grocery stores, I guess. Beauty salons and personal care, schools and child care providers, they're open. Paused, indoor and outdoor dining, wedding receptions, celebrations, private parties. Well, that's nice. Organized sports. gyms, indoor entertainment venues, public pools and rec centers, and any social gatherings outside of your household. That's all. Other than that, it's cool. Everything has worked perfectly fine in the state of Minnesota. Thank you for doing what we asked you to do, and we're sorry we were wrong. We were absolutely wrong. By the way, in California, a woman actually got COVID after attending a Black Lives Matter protest. This is the first case of someone catching COVID at a left-wing event. Up until now, only Republican events, only conservative events were considered super spreader events, including Donald Trump rallies and the Donald Trump MAGA protest in Washington, D.C. last week. Otherwise, Antifa and Black Lives Matter rallies were not super spreader events. Sturgis was a super spreader event that never happened. And Al Sharpton's big march in Washington, D.C. a couple months ago, not a super spreader event because it had Democrat policies. So this is the first case of somebody getting COVID at a Black Lives Matter rally. And here's the story.
City of Miami police revealing a growing number of coronavirus cases within the department. Just last month, we knew no officers had COVID-19. But now, at least 31 officers and 6 civilian workers have tested positive in recent days. Another 115 employees are now in quarantine after possible exposure. Police Chief Jorge Colina says those officers were likely infected during the Black Lives Matter demonstrations. Many of those officers were involved in those protests.
But they're wearing masks. I mean, they're like hooded masks over their heads so they can burn stuff and not be recognized.
Patrols where people were marching without social distancing, and not everyone was wearing a mask. The city says it will now be mandatory for protest organizers to obtain a permit before staging a demonstration on a right-of-way in an effort to ensure safety.
This is not an attempt in any way for us to silence the public.
Yeah, it is.
This is simply us recognizing that we have a public health crisis. And there is a certain hypocrisy that exists when we say you can't go to the beach and you have to shut your business. But somehow it's okay to bring 200-300 people together, shoulder to shoulder, many without a mask.
He makes a point, actually. He does make a point there. Oh, by the way, the CDC has offered new health and safety guidelines for the holiday season. Here they are. Are you ready? Are you ready? The holiday spirit may be dampened as the CDC encourages guests to avoid singing or shouting, especially indoors, meaning there will be no Christmas caroling this year. Keep music levels down so people don't have to shout or speak loudly to be heard. In other words, sit with your guests and just whisper to one another with your mask on so you won't be heard. So, hey, could you pass me the mashed potatoes? What? Can you pass me the mashed potatoes? Did you want to go to Idaho? No. Can you pass me the mashed potatoes? Oh, okay, sure. Here you go. Officials say that ringing in the holiday spirit with champagne or alcoholic beverages may be a danger. So they want to suck every ounce of fun out of your holiday gatherings. You can't do anything. You can't talk. You can't speak loudly. You cannot sing. And you can't have an adult beverage. Are you out of your mother effing minds? The CDC labeled alcohol consumption as a high-risk activity, saying using alcohol or drugs that may alter judgment and make it more difficult to practice COVID-19 safety measures. Are you out of your mother effing minds? That's all I have to say. I'm kind of fed up at this point. Aren't you kind of fed up at this point? I'm kind of fed up at this point. I'm kind of done with all this. I'm done with the COVID restrictions, and I'm done with the Democrat Party stealing the election. And I'm not gonna go quietly into the night on either one of those situations. I got 10 people coming over for Thanksgiving. We're not going to wear masks. We're going to serve alcoholic beverages. We're going to talk out loud. Hell, we might even sing. We might even sing. Holy hell. So, on Monday, Burgess Owens, former NFL player and vocal critic of Colin Kaepernick, was declared the winner of Utah's 4th District, despite running against an incumbent and trailing by 11 points in the polling. Okay? The Cook Political Report, ahead of the 2020 election, listed 27 races as toss-ups, meaning they were too close to predict one way or another. Republicans won all 27 of them. Republicans also won 26 races deemed leaning or likely Republican, and even picked up 7 of the 36 seats listed as leaning or likely Democrat. Despite nearly unanimous predictions that Democrats would further cement control of the House, they now hold a 218 to 204 advantage, with Republicans poised to pick up more seats as they lead in 8 of the remaining 13 races. So, it makes no sense that Donald Trump would lose, because Donald Trump is the reason why the Republicans got elected, okay? I'm just going to say it. We're not effing stupid. We're not stupid. The down ticket was a complete rejection of Democrat policies and socialism. The reason being is because Donald Trump is doing a great job as the president. There is no reason that Donald Trump would not win by a landslide unless it was being stolen. Now, Louis Gohmert, he talked about a server being seized in Germany that shows that Donald Trump won by the landslide we knew he was going to win by, which includes more than 400 votes of the Electoral College. Here's Louis Gohmert, not the best audio quality, talking about this.
U.S. Army forces went into Seidel and grabbed their server. There's some that believe this is the U.S. intelligence that manipulated all this.
New reports claim the real results of the 2020 U.S. election were found on a computer server that was seized by the U.S. military in Frankfurt, Germany.
I would call this foreign election interference.
In a recent tweet, a Virginia...
I believe Donald Trump was accused of Russian collusion, and that was a lie.
Congressional candidate shared an electoral map that's allegedly based off of this data from that.
And if you watched on election night, this was the way it was going. At around midnight Eastern Standard Time, the voting paused in 4 counties, and hundreds of thousands of votes, almost exclusively for Joe Biden, poured in. That was the trigger.
Sir, it shows a landslide victory for President Trump with a 410 Electoral College vote, including liberal strongholds California and Minnesota. Congressman Louis Gohmert, you just heard from him there. He says the real election results were stolen through vulnerabilities in the Dominion voting system.
Extremely compelling evidence that could be gleaned from Seidel, that's SCYTL. That's a company headquartered in...
Okay, we've heard this, so I won't go any further on this. But you see, we're not stupid. We're not stupid. We saw what was happening. We saw the rallies. We saw Joe Biden, a forgetful, clearly losing his mind on the campaign trail. We saw the nomination of a woman for his vice president who got no votes in the primaries, spent $15 million while Joe Biden spent $16. He got the nomination. She pulled out before a vote was cast because she's so unpopular. The reason why she was selected is because she was the only person who would take it. And I said this months ago. The Democrat Party knew that Joe Biden was a losing candidate and they had lost the election. And that's why this failsafe was put into place. And it worked like clockwork, exactly like it was supposed to do at approximately midnight Eastern Standard Time on election night when the votes... Now, Joe Biden was leading with mail-in voting and the voters who came in early. Voters for Trump waited until the day of. They were proud of it because they wanted to be there in person and cast their vote. That's when things started to roll. That's when things really started to head in Donald Trump's direction. And Las Vegas odd makers said he had a 75% chance of winning when the voting stopped. And when the counting stopped in 4 major battleground states, all of them using Dominion video software. Here is a video put together by Arizona Republicans that tells the truth and says also, we're not stupid.
This election is a joke. You've seen it. We've all seen it. Story after story after story of glitches, upload errors, and ballot dumps that sow distrust in our voting process.
Coincidentally, all of these irregularities benefit former Vice President Joe Biden and disenfranchise President Trump's voters.
True.
Don't take our word for it. See for yourself.
In one county in Michigan, a software glitch caused 6,000 votes to switch from President Trump to Joe Biden,
causing a 6,000 vote swing against our candidates.
Thankfully, this error was caught thanks to a thorough hand recount. Unfortunately, 47 counties in Michigan used the same software.
Yep.
That's terrifying. Even more frightening, this Dominion voting software has been used in 28 other states, including our home state of Arizona.
Yep.
only in Maricopa County. Faulty software is not the only malarkey out of Michigan.
On November 4th, Republican poll watchers were barred from overseeing the counting of absentee ballots at a polling station in Detroit. This video, which has since gone
also happened in Philadelphia, by the way,
on viral, shows election workers using large pieces of cardboard.
What are they hiding?
And pizza boxes to board up the windows.
Why are Republicans being shut out from this process?
Because Democrats are stealing the election.
This reminds me of the time my Republican colleagues were barred from
We know this because we're not stupid.
Democrats' secret impeachment inquiry hearing.
Yeah, I forgot about
Democracy dies in darkness, right?
Yep.
Unless you've been living under a rock for over a week, you'll recall that Republicans across the board had a decisive lead. Americans went to bed on election night expecting to wake up to 4 more years of President Trump's America First agenda.
And then came the pause. Why in the most consequential election of our lifetime did these swing states decide to stop the count? In Wisconsin, just before 4 a.m., over 100,000 votes are dumped, and almost every single one of them was for Vice President Joe Biden.
Okay, I just said this.
In Michigan, Biden somehow got 138,339 votes, and Trump got none.
We are not stupid.
0. In an overnight vote dump, media pundits rushed in to chalk it up to mail-in votes finally being added to the equation.
According to NBC, Republicans led mail-in ballot requests in both Michigan and Wisconsin by quite substantial margins. So you're telling me, with a straight face, that not a single one of those Republicans cast a ballot for the president? Get real.
Are you starting to understand why Americans want an election audit?
Mm-hmm.
Michigan and Wisconsin are an absolute joke. And sadly, it doesn't end there.
In the state of Georgia, 132,000 ballots in Fulton have been flagged as ineligible due to address changes.
And that's not the only mess we're seeing in the state. Once again, a Dominion
Democrats knew that Joe Biden was going to lose.
Voting system glitch just happened to benefit Democrats. This time in Georgia. Here, see for yourself.
2 counties in Georgia completely shut down voting for 2 hours, thanks to Dominion.
And coincidentally, both of the counties in question, Morgan and Spalding, are Trump territory. How convenient.
What the hell's going on with the Dominion voting system? It's no wonder folks in Arizona have lost faith in our process. This is the United States of America, not an episode of Scandal or House of Cards. Our free and fair elections are a bedrock of our republic, and Americans deserve nothing less than full transparency.
America deserves an election audit. America deserves to know that every legal vote has been counted.
And America is ready to fight in more ways than one. Okay? 72.3 million Americans are ready to fight. We have been for the last 4 years called racist and Nazis and white supremacists, even when we're not white. Crazy. We're ready to fight. So if you think because you've declared as a network that Joe Biden is the president-elect, and that's good enough, and if you just say it enough and you say that he's appointing all these people to his cabinet and all this, you think that's enough? It's not enough. We cry BS. And we will not, at this point, no one that I know of will accept Joe Biden as the president. Okay? There you go. I want to do one more thing here because this is near and dear to me because I live in what I thought was a free country, and I organically have built a following on Facebook. I worked for a network that a couple years ago, let me fix the hair. A couple years ago, there is the, okay, come on, focus. Come on, back, focus. Come on, back, focus. There we go. There's focus. But I worked for a network that had built and spent $250,000 to build followings on 29 Facebook pages and 19 million followers. And I had a huge, huge following. And on October the 30th of 2018, they were all shut down along with 800 plus other Facebook pages. A good many of them were conservative. So I continued to build my show page, which is Rob Carson Show. And until recently, I had reached about 100,000 people a week, and things were going very well. And I was demonetized. I have no way to monetize my page. So there was that. Then they stopped me being able to pay for posts, to boost posts with my money. Okay, so like my T-shirt line, I suddenly could not boost to make money. They cut that off, okay? I was suspended for a month for a post that I did on September the 22nd, which had been resolved. Okay. And by the way, it was bullcrap. I said of Black Lives Matter supporters that got in the way of traffic and stopped things like ambulances, that if you get run over, too bad, so sad. That got me canceled. Okay. They've also shadow banned me dozens of times, which mean that I just suddenly disappeared to my followers. Now, on all of my Facebook pages, on the day after the election, they shut them all down. They used the excuse, apparently, of the post on September the 22nd that had been taken care of. When I attempt to contact and dispute, and there is a little tab you can dispute on Facebook, for the last 2 weeks, they have been unable to process my request. So I cannot say, I think this is BS, because it will not process my request. I have been shut down like North Korea on my Facebook pages. That's why I'm on Rumble. That's why I'm on Twitch. That's why I'm on Parler. That's why I'm on Megabook. Because Facebook shut me down like North Mother effing Korea. All of my sites, my personal family page, that's been down for 2 months. I can't get in touch with relatives on that. That's been shut down for 2 months. I'm on an enemies list. This isn't an algorithm. This is not an algorithm. This is Facebook going, there are some people who can reach 100,000 people or 200 to 300 to 400,000 people a month. And they're pretty rare. So they're pretty easy to see. And when it says conservative on their sites, that makes them even bigger targets. It's not an algorithm that caused Facebook to shut down my pages. It's people who saw I was reaching people with a conservative message, and the day after the damned election, shut all my pages down. Here is Mark, I'll call him Zuckerberg, being confronted by Josh Hawley in Congress this week.
Well, I'm talking about content moderation. I'm talking about individuals, websites, hashtags, phrases to ban. Is it your testimony that you do not communicate with Twitter or Google about content moderation, about individuals?
Now, what you're going to see is that all of these major players in social media are you ready for it? In cahoots.
Websites, phrases, hashtags to...
And they're all run by leftists.
Ban. Just yes or no. Do you communicate with Twitter or Google about coordinating your policies in this way?
Senator, we do not coordinate our policies.
Do your Facebook content moderation teams communicate with their counterparts at Twitter or Google?
Senator, I'm not aware of anything specific, but I think it would be probably pretty normal for people to talk to their peers and colleagues in the industry.
It would be normal, but you don't do it?
No, I'm saying that I'm not aware of any particular conversation, but
sure.
I would expect that some level of communication probably happens.
It's just an accident that conservative sites, conservative people who are at the march, the MAGA march in Washington, D.C., none of them could broadcast live and show the crowds on Facebook. None of them could show the crowds on Facebook.
But that was different from...
None of them could go live on Facebook and show the glorious, gigantic crowds protesting the election and supporting the president in Washington, D.C. a week ago.
Coordinating what our policies are or our responses in specific instances.
Well, fortunately, I understand that the task platform is searchable. So will you provide a list of every mention of Google or Twitter from the tasks platform to this committee?
Senator, that's something that I can follow up with you and your team after on.
Well, yes or no, I'm sure you can follow up with the list, but why don't you commit while I've got you here under oath? It's so much better to do this.
I don't know why he's at a remote location, because I don't believe cyborgs can catch COVID.
Under oath, will you commit now to providing a list from the tasks platform of every mention of Google or Twitter?
Senator, respectfully, I'm without having looked into this, I'm not aware of any sensitivity that might exist around that, so I don't think it would be wise for me to commit to that right now.
He spent $400 million this election cycle promoting Democrats and Democrat policies.
But I would be happy to follow.
How many items on the task platform reflect that Facebook, Twitter, and Google are sharing information about websites or hashtags or platforms that they want to suppress?
Senator, I do not know.
Will you provide a list of every website and hashtag that Facebook content moderation teams have discussed banning?
Massive amounts of Donald Trump's tweets are being flagged as false. since the election, before the election. Joe Biden's tweets, not one single one ever.
On the task platform.
Senator, again, I would be happy to follow up with you or your team to discuss further how we might move forward on that. But without
will you commit to it here? Senator Cruz and Senator Lee both asked you for lists of individuals, websites, entities that have been subject to content moderation. You expressed doubt about whether any such information exists, but you've also
there's the Rob Carson Show. That's one of them.
You've acknowledged the task platform exists, that it is searchable. So will you commit to providing the information you have logged on the task website about content moderation that your company has undertaken? Yes or no?
Senator, I think it would be better to follow up once I've had a chance to discuss with my team what any sensitivity around that would be.
In other words, to cover my ass.
That might prevent.
I don't think he has an ass. I don't think he eats food.
Kind of sharing that you're talking about, but once I've done that, I would be happy to follow up.
All right, so you won't commit to do it here. We could, of course, subpoena this information.
Do it.
But I'd much rather get it from you voluntarily. But I think let everybody take note that Mr. Zuckerberg has now repeatedly refused to provide information that he knows that he has and has now acknowledged that he has, that Tasks has under oath. Let me switch to a different topic. Mr. Zuckerberg, tell me about Centra. What is the Facebook internal tool called Centra?
Senator, I'm not aware of any tool with that name.
Sure, but you are a tool.
Well, let me see if this refreshes your memory. There's a demonstrative now over my shoulder. Centra is a tool that Facebook uses to track its users, not just on Facebook, but across the entire internet. Centra tracks different profiles that a user visits, their message recipients, their linked accounts, the pages they visit around.
Don't believe it? Post something on Facebook and then watch the ads pop up on everything. Okay? Post. I'm looking for a place to buy whatever. And you will go to Google and it'll show up. You will go to Facebook, it'll show up. You go to anywhere, it will show up. That is a fact.
On the web that have Facebook buttons, Centra also uses behavioral data to monitor users' accounts, even if those accounts are registered under a different name. And
I would assume it also shares the political ideology or leanings of these people with all the other sites, which we just talked about.
You can see a shot here, a screenshot provided to us of the Centra platform. We blocked out the user's name in the interest of privacy, although you can see this individual's birth date and age, when they first started using Facebook, their last login, as well as all manner of trackings. How many different devices have they used to access Facebook? How many different accounts are associated with their name? What accounts have they visited? What photos have they tagged? And on and on and on. Mr. Zuckerberg, how many accounts in the United States have been subject to review and shut down through Centra?
Well, there's the Rob Carson Show.
Senator, I do not know because I'm not actually familiar with the name of that tool.
You are full of crap, man.
I'm sure that we have tools that help us with our platform and community integrity work. But I am not familiar with that name.
Do you have a tool that does exactly what I've described and that you can see here over my shoulder? Or are you saying that doesn't exist?
Senator, I'm saying that I'm not familiar with it. And that
so you are saying that it exists. You're not saying it doesn't exist.
I'd be happy to follow up and get you and your team the information that you would like on this. But I'm limited in what I can, what I'm familiar with and can share today.
I need to, get with my team and cover our asses and erase a lot of stuff.
Always amazing to me, Mr. Chairman, how many people before this committee suddenly develop amnesia. Maybe it is something about the air in the room. Yeah. Let me ask you this. When a Facebook employee accesses a user's private information, like their private messages or their personally identifiable data, is a record made of that, Mr. Zuckerberg?
Sorry, Senator, can you repeat that?
Is a record made of any time a Facebook employee accesses a user's private information, personally identifiable information, for example, messages? Is a record made any time a Facebook employee does that?
Senator, I believe so.
Does it trigger an audit?
Senator, I think sometimes it may.
How many audits have been conducted?
Only if they're conservative, though.
Senator, I do not know the exact number of audits.
Can you give me a list?
Senator, we can follow up on that to see what would be useful here.
Will you, I'm almost finished, Mr. Chairman. Will you commit to giving us a list of the number of times Facebook employees have accessed users' personal account information without their knowledge? Yes or no?
Senator, we should follow up on what would be useful here. It is, of course, in the operations of the company, if someone reports something, sometimes necessary for people at the company to go review.
Okay, I'm done. Here's the thing. Wasn't it the Batman movie that said with great power comes great responsibility? Well, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube have been irresponsible. We were led to believe when Facebook started that it was, pretty much just going to be a way to get in touch with your high school classmates, and you were going to be able to, share videos or pictures of your feet on the end of a lawn chair on a beach and all that stuff. And then a few years ago, people started posting their political views on it and sharing articles and then their beliefs and all that stuff. And then the censorship started happening. I started the Rob Carson Show page. I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. As the show grew, I wasn't anything. I was a bug, and then I started reaching a lot of people. And then I started my memes. I mean, I had one post reach 399,000 people. It was epic. It was gigantic. And so that's when the shadow banning started. Okay. That's when the shadow banning started. That's when the other stuff started. And ultimately, one month ban, and then now on the day after the election, another ban. Oh, by the way, this is Mark Zuckerberg, and you got to. I'm just going to say right now, I kind of pity the guy. Here is Mark Zuckerberg talking about how difficult it is just to have friends, being the head of Facebook and who he is.
Are you able to have friends?
Yes.
But you don't have feelings, do you?
No.
Not as such.
Yeah.
However, even among humans, friendship is sometimes less an emotional response and more a sense of familiarity.
So you can become used to someone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I kind of feel bad for him because he's socially kind of awkward. He's got some issues that way. So I kind of feel bad. All right. So I'm going to go. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to my Rumble channel and my YouTube channel because you could win at the end of this month coming up a freezer full of Wagyu beef from Hassel Cattle Company if you are going to do some shopping, and beef is a possibility, a gift pack. Oh my God, it's so good. Hassel Cattle Company. They're in Texas. They're awesome. And a Pit Barrel Classic cooker. Amber and Noah Glanville built this great company. It's one of the best cookers / grills / smokers in the world. Subscribe, rumble.com, Rob Carson Show, youtube.com, Rob Carson Show. And, of course, we've got about 80 politically incorrect designs there on tpublic.com. Conservatives, cancel Fox News, America supremacist, I am an America supremacist, and fake news, Fox News, all that stuff. So thank you for watching, guys. I greatly appreciate it. I will be back before Thanksgiving. I will be back certainly this weekend on Sunday morning, at least. Thank you. Follow me on MagaBook and Parler, too. My Parler and MagaBook followings have gone through the ceiling. And watch my Newsmax show. Okay, it's on the weekends on Newsmax. Go to NewsmaxTV.com. You can watch it there. You can find out what cable system it's on. All right? Newsmax is growing by leaps and bounds. Thank you, Christopher Ruddy, for having me as a part of the program. It is a comedy show. It is called Rob Carson's What in the World. Have a great day. God bless you. And don't catch the stupid. But see ya.